Welcome back to another exciting adventure with this 2015 Chevy Cruze. We have got a coolant leak, and this time, the water pump. We're just going to do some preliminaries here. I've got a jack under the engine holding it up. Got the cooling system drained. We're going to get the air box up and out of the way here. I always like to put something in the turbo like that so we don't drop anything down into it, because that would be expensive. Now, a few things we got to do here is we've got to get the thermostat housing off. We've got to get the engine mount out of the way. Got to get the serpentine belt off, water pump pulley off, and then we can take the water pump off. And don't forget about our hose in the back here. So we're just going to start going right at it. $15mm on the engine mounts. Always be a little cautious on the last bolt you take out there. Make sure you got good tension on your jack so the engine doesn't fall. I'll get that engine mount out of the way. We got this mount here also. It's got 15mm all the way around. Let's see if we can take the easy route on this one. Get ourselves some electric involved. You can kind of maneuver the engine up and down a little bit with the jack so that you can get to these bolts a little easier. You might not be able to use an electric ratchet on all of them. This one is easy to get to, but the actual unibody structure of the car is in the way for the other ones. So unfortunately, a couple threads at a time. So you got 1, 2, and then there's a hidden one a little farther down below. You're going to have to get out the old Helen Keller. If you're going to be in this trade or in this business for a while, you're going to have to grow eyeballs on your fingertips so you can kind of see without being able to see. If anybody understands what I'm trying to say there. Now, you might not be able to take these bolts actually out. You're just going to have to get them loose and free. You're going to have to take the mount out with the bolts still going through them. Like that. That's out of the way. That exposes our tensioner. See if I can get you a little closer to the action. All right, let's see what size this tensioner is. It is an E16. You want to go clockwise with this tensioner. Slide the belt off. Get it out of the way. Just get the belt out of your way. Boy, getting a little frisky today. You got the 3 bolts that hold the pulley on. So nice fresh battery. You can get them right out of there. If I'd have been thinking, I would have loosened them up just a little bit while the belt was still on. That's what a smart person would do, and I do not claim to be smart. So that kind of exposes the water pump down here. We still need to get the thermostat housing off, which is right here. We got 1, 2, 3 bolts on that and the main plug. So let's get the plug out of the way. And you can, if you'd like, you can take this hose off, but see if we can finagle in there without messing with any of that stuff. I lied. I'm taking that hose off. Okay. So that hose out of the way. We can get where we need to be. So these are in E10 socket, or if you don't have E-torque sockets, you can use an 8mm. But be careful, you don't over tighten or strip anything, because if you do, then you're kind of stuck. So be a little ginger if you're using an 8mm. By that, I don't mean act like a little redhead. I just mean be careful. Jeez Louise, getting myself all tangled up here. So much for being a professional. There. My gosh. Some days, it's like the first day on a job all over again, right? Now, most of the water pump kits I get come with a new thermostat housing seal. So if you see what's happening here, the seal kind of half in, half out, don't worry. My Lord, what happened here? Did my thermostat housing break? Let's take a look. Get that seal off. Need to inspect this thing. Yeah, my thermostat housing broke. There's usually a finger here and a finger here that catches this wing to hold the spring down in place. Okay, well, we will call the parts store. All right, so parts store run was a success. They had a thermostat housing in stock. I'll show you what happened to that one here in a second. Let's get this hose off the backside of the water pump and continue on with this journey. Okay, let's just start getting the bolts out of here. Now the water pump bolts are all E10s. Now there are different sizes to these. Some are longer than others. You need to keep track of where those longer ones go. I usually sprawl them out onto my cart in the order of which they went so that I know where they live. The last thing you want to do is try to put a long bolt in a hole that's supposed to be for a short bolt. Mess that all up. Once you have all your bolts out, usually just give a little tug. When in doubt, consult the new water pump. And it'll tell you, hey Malron, there's another bolt up here. Losing tension on my engine. There we are. With a little pop. Probably a lot easier to get the hose off now. If I didn't set my pliers right down in front of my own face and lose them. Right where I put it. Twist. Come right off. Okay. So, let me pop this off really quick and show you what happened to our thermostat. This is just a little quick release. Pop that metal retainer up. Should be easy to wiggle that sucker free. But apparently everything tonight is giving me a hard time. Oh, lordy. What a wild night for repairs. Nothing is going very nicely. All right, pull that clamp out of the way. So, here's the old thermostat housing. Here's the new thermostat housing. You can see there's little plastic ears up here that hold this metal retainer down on the spring. And these ears, because of the extreme heat that this engine puts out, this operating temperature on this engine is 220 degrees at the first time that it opens the thermostat. Now, if you're going to use a grinder, make sure you're using, some kind of a disc like this. Do not use anything that's super abrasive because you're just going to mess up the aluminum on this. You just want to shine this up, get all that old sealant off of there. Don't have to go crazy. Let's just get it cleaned up, make it look nice, so that our new gasket has a good surface to mount on. And be gentle. You don't have to go nuts. If you don't have one of these, just get yourself some Scotch-Brite or something along those lines. Emery cloth. And you see all the orange left over from the old gasket. So we're just cleaning that off. You can see this water pump's been leaking quite a long time. There was a lot of residual down under that. Hey, wife break. Hello? Okay, now that we're all cleaned up and ready to go, we've got our new water pump. This is actually a paper gasket, and I cheat a little. I take a little bit of RTV and I put it around the perimeter, just in spots, not everywhere, just so that it'll hold that gasket in place while I'm going to seat it. Because if you don't have a way to hold that on, you're just going to fight that thing, and you are not going to be happy with your life for, quite a while until you get that seated. Let's pop that hose on, because that seems to be the easiest way to do it, is when the water pump's actually just hanging out here. Now that it's ready to go, recheck, make sure your gasket's still lined. Line it up. Uh-oh, come back. All right. Let's line that water pump up. Start a couple of these bolts. Once they're in place, let's snug them up. This is Milwaukee high test. Trying to snug these down. I just take my little guy and just make sure they're all where I like them. Right. Sagging a little bit. Pop that back up. We got our thermostat housing. You got this piping down here you got to get on first. Be careful with this hose down here, because this heads over to the turbo, and it's not a fun one to replace. So don't reef on it too hard. Don't cut it by accident. There's a gasket already in that housing, so we're good to go. Pop it up into place. And bolt that to our water pump. Again, after you get them where they need to be. Just give them a little torque. Just make sure they're snug. Like I said, don't over tighten it because these are all just plastic components, so you don't want to over tighten and crack it. The O-ring is going to do most of the work, so just get them torqued down a little bit. You don't have to take this retaining pin out when you do that. I was just getting it out of the way so I wouldn't lose it. You just have it in the up position. You can put it down. It would be nice to have a little bit of silicone. Don't use PV Blaster. For the love of God, don't use PV Blaster on anything that has a rubber seal. PV Blaster makes rubber seals swell. And then they're just turned to absolute mush and garbage. They are not good. Alright. We are almost there. Let's get our pulley back on. Smokes. Well, that's good enough for now. Oh, where did we go? Oh, right there in front of me. Get back on this tensioner and make it relax a little bit so you get your belt back into position here. Come back around to the alternator. AC pump. So the belt routing, in case it falls off all the way, crank, AC, water pump, alternator, and around the tensioner. I'm going to light that up for you so you can see better. Up and around. Okay. Get this garbage out of the way. So we can lay our engine mount back in. So get this mount first. And before I get too carried away, really tighten down this pulley by hand. Very good, very good. Get your bolts started here, and we'll get them back with a ratchet wrench. So as long as you just do everything in order, remember where the bolts go, take your time, just be prepared for the little snafus like that thermostat housing. You just never know what's going to happen, so what you think might be a very straightforward and Easy job to do. Could end up costing you a couple more hours and another $100. But okay, now we're gonna set these 3 first. Down here. And bolts will hold down here. If everything looks lined up and pretty, slide it down. We do have to remember that we took some extra piping and stuff off over on this side, so make sure we clip everything back in. Make sure you plug your thermostat back in. Hose is nice and tight. You should hear it click when you push it in. So, simple enough. Now I have left is the air box. Get your rag out of the way. Put your hose back on. Slip that back down into place. Get your nice airflow. We got one more 7mm. Put this back on down here. Nice and tight. Take your jack out. And that's it. That's the water pump. Pretty straightforward, a little time consuming, but just follow the steps. That's gonna save you a lot of money if you can do it yourself. Then obviously, all you need to do, fill up your coolant, bleed the system, and you're ready to rock and roll. Thanks for watching.